I guess when you start out and you don't know where your piece is going to wind up in the end, does that affect your creative process at all? Like, do you ever feel like you're... I'm just imagining, for me, if I were a composer and I thought, well, this may be performed once, and then I don't know if it's going to be played again. I don't know if I'm going to like the first performance. I don't know if it's all going to fall into place. I don't know if I'd be as motivated to write. So what motivates you to write, and how do you get past that and just focus on the creative part?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, fortunately, I've been very lucky and happy to find that in recent years I've been able to write pieces for specific performers for whom I have, the utmost respect. Mm-hmm. And now I usually think about my performances when I'm thinking about my compositions, and not just one performance, but how is this person going to take this piece and live with it and really make it have the same relationship to them that I have with pieces that I play. I wouldn't want to think that when Bach was writing Prelude and Fugue or something, that the idea was this would only be played once. I don't think that's the mentality. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that it was simply writing the piece for a moment. It was writing the piece for a long time and sort of reflecting the nature of the way that he viewed life, and for me the way that I view life, which is that you're always looking for the long threads, and finding those long threads with performers who seem to really understand what I'm doing musically, and where I understand what they're doing musically, has been by far the most rewarding thing in music for me. That's really great.
That would be a really nice thing to experience. And how do you experience as a performer and a composer? How do you... I mean, because as a performer, then you have more insight into what it's like, maybe more insight into what it's like to work with something new. So does that affect how you go about composing for a performer? I mean, does it make any difference to you that you also perform? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't thought of myself as a performer in a long time. I mean, I play music every day, but I don't play publicly every day or even every week. I'm starting to play more. But I don't see it as like performers should try to figure out how I would perform it. What I really like is the interaction between my music, myself, and the performer, their musical sense. And blending those together, I think, when people are invested in it, yields much more than the sum of its parts.
What's your instrument?
I have been a pianist, but now I guess I'm technically probably a synthesizer and electric keyboard player, since that's what I've been doing recently, is buying old synths and electric keyboards from the 70s.
And how do you feel that, like, what do you think you've learned from those instruments that's affected your writing?
I think most of that has been very personal, in the sense that there are sounds that I'm rediscovering in these instruments that are sounds that are really important to me, and they're not sounds that I've worked with before. I mean, the idea of working with an analog synthesizer from 1978 is very different in some sense than working with a viola, but actually I wrote a piece for Nadia on viola and myself on the synthesizer, and exploring that sort of interaction, feeling like this is my voice when I'm playing, was actually really wonderful, and feeling like it could be put into dialogue with a more traditional classical instrument that I also love.